Yes. Can someone confirm the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the confirmation. Good morning, all. Sorry for the delay. Some issue I had here, connectivity issue. Now, we have discussed in our previous class about three important things. That is monotonic stress strain behavior of a material, cyclic stress strain behavior of a material, and the hysteresis loop formation during the cyclic loading. And we have understood that there are stabilized hysteresis loops which we have to achieve before we draw the cyclic stress strain behavior. So this much we discussed in our last class. And before going to further into the theory, let us look into a numerical related to this discussion what we had. Okay, the same problem is also available in your Bannatyne and Julie book. For more numericals, you can refer to the exercise part of the Bannatyne Julie book. Okay, you can do that. Not most of the fatigue related books discuss numericals, especially in the high cycle fatigue regime. Low cycle fatigue regime, strain life approach, and fracture mechanics. You find only illustration, one or two examples, not more than that. Only Bannatyne book, Bannatyne Julie textbook, what you have, that has little bit more numericals and very good list of problem questions in the exercise part. So you can look into there and try to solve that with your understanding. If you look into the S. Suresh book of fatigue of materials, there you will not find numericals at all. Very rarely one or two numericals. It mainly talks from the microscopic point of view, the behavior of the material, all those things. So if you want to refer for cyclic hardening, cyclic softening, Bauschinger effect, all these phenomena and what is the cause for that, the microscopic phenomena, refer to S. Suresh book. Very beautifully explained. Theory wise, S. Suresh book is very good. If you want to only for the subject point of view, Bannatyne and Julie book you can refer, and few numericals you will also find in R.I. Stephens, the book by R.I. Stephens. You can refer to that. You can go through all those lists which I already provided earlier in the syllabus copy. So these three books you can look into for the more detailed part into the discussion what we had. So strain life related you find bit less numericals. However, it is there, at least illustrative requirement point of view, it is there in Bannatyne Julie book and R.I. Stephens book. Okay, fine. Let us look into this numerical, make a note of this. The definition says, consider a test specimen with the following material properties. Some material properties have been given, and Young's modulus, which you are very well aware. Then N dash, K dash. So N dash is cyclic strain hardening exponent, K dash is the cyclic strength coefficient. The units are mentioned with here KSI, kilo pound per square inch unit, and it is said that the particular specimen is subjected to a strain range. Strain range is given. Please look into that word range. Okay, if it is said strain amplitude, you will get the different meaning. If it is said strain range, then it is delta epsilon. Strain amplitude, if it is set, then it is delta epsilon by 2, or we will write epsilon A. Strain amplitude. Okay, strain amplitude in the sense it is only half magnitude, or you may say epsilon max minus epsilon minimum by 2 is the strain amplitude. Now what is given is a strain range. That means altogether the entire strain range is 0.04, and there is one more statement for you which can help you in deciding what is the nature of load. You read this statement, fully reversed cyclic strain. When it is said fully reversed, and if the total range is 0.04, then I have to write here 0.02 and 0.02. One is positive, one is negative. Plus 0.02 minus 0.02. So overall range is now 0.04. So we have to pull a specimen for a strain rate of 0.02, and then we have to release, come back to 0, and we have to reach to a level of minus 0.02. Then again go up to 0.02, come down to minus 0.02, go up again, and this cycle repeats. That is what is mentioned. So this particular axis is epsilon, strain amplitude axis. This particular axis is time, t. Within during time period, we have applying this type of loading pattern. That is what is the meaning of fully reversed strain range of given magnitude, that is 0.04. Strain amplitude is half of that, therefore 0.02, 0.02. It is said it is a tensile test specimen. So you have a tensile test specimen you have used in your strength of material lab. Okay. So this specimen, you have to use it for the testing. So what you have to do? You have to pull in the positive direction for 0.02 strain, and you have to compress back to, if I constrain at other end, the meaning is constrain, or we can also show like this reactions, equal opposite reactions. So this is another 0.02 from its original position. One is minus, other one is plus. So you have to pull it and you have to release it, and then you have to compress it to the negative direction till you get a strain of 0.02. This is strain controlled tensile test we are doing. Now what is the question? What we are supposed to do here? We have to determine the stress strain response of the material. When you do this operation, when you apply this particular type of load, how the stress strain diagram would be? So this is stress sigma, this is epsilon strain. How this behavior, whether it is linear to some extent and then it is going like this, or whether it is like this, or whether it is only like this. How is this particular behavior when the given load has been applied over the material? Which one out of this? Whether it is this, curve 1, whether it is curve 2, whether it is curve 3, any possibility. That we have to determine by making use of the given values. Young's modulus is given, which is the measure of stiffness of the material, or elasticity modulus. Cyclic strain hardening exponent. With every cycle of the load, how the strain hardening happening in the material? What is the relationship between plastic stress to plastic strain? It is a non-linearity relation. We have already discussed that earlier in theory. So stress is proportional to strain, and we have that proportionality constant E based on Hooke's law. This is Hooke's law, and it is true only in the elastic limit. What if in the plastic limit, again stress is proportional to epsilon, but it is not directly proportional to epsilon. It is varying with some exponential power, and that is power n. And the constant we can relate is here is a strength coefficient, that is K. This is what is given to us. So therefore, sigma is K epsilon to the power n, or if you want to write for plastic strain, this is plastic strain. Plastic strain is equal to sigma by K to the power 1 by n. This is the relationship. So therefore, to establish that relationship, these values have been given. And here dash is given. That means these property K dash, N dash are given to us, are nothing but the properties of this diagram. And we have to assume here it is a CSSC, cyclic stress strain diagram. So we have to obtain now behavior for the cyclic stress strain behavior of the cyclic stress strain response of the material. for a given strain amplitude. This is the question. This much is the preliminary understanding you should have to address this problem. Now we have to determine. So already properties have been given. In the absence of cyclic property, we could have assumed only K and N, monotonic curve properties. Okay. Now here, since given, you can directly make use of that. I think you got the idea of the problem. Now we have to determine when you are going to pull for 0.02, how much stress in the material you are going to observe. What is the stress? This is what we have to determine. So from 0, starting from 0, you look into the leftmost side, starting from 0 till I reach to a magnitude of epsilon 1, because this is a first cycle. So epsilon max 1 or epsilon 1 till I reach to this particular point. Now, how much is the stress? We want to determine stress strain response. Strain I am applying, then how much is the sigma 1 when you have pulled this particular tensile test specimen to a strain rate of 0.02. When you have pulled tension, when you have pulled to that level, what is the stress? And then now you are going to release it back till you go to the 0.02. Here, let us say this is epsilon 2, sigma minimum 2 or epsilon 2. At this particular point, what is the stress? Let us give a name of sigma 2. What is stress? How much is the stress in the material? This is what we have to determine. And then here, how many number of cycles we have to determine, that is not mentioned. So if we complete one cycle, that is more than sufficient. And then we have to come back to 0. So when strain rate is 0, what is the stress? When strain rate is 0, we assume that material is not in the stress condition, no loading over the material. As you increase the load, strain develops or deformation occurs. Same time, stress development is there. How much is the stress? So we have to just determine this. Since it is not said check for every cycle, we are not checking that. We are assuming whatever is the stress sigma 1 and sigma 2 we get, that is only going to be retained throughout. So assumption here is material is cyclically stable, but that we can also validate with the result. We have to check what is the sigma 1 value, what is the sigma 2 value, and then next cycle. If I say sigma 3, next cycle, sigma 3, epsilon 3 point, what is sigma 3? We can determine. If the sigma 3 is different than sigma 1, depending on the value, if sigma 1 is greater than sigma 3, then material is undergoing cyclic softening. If sigma 3 is greater than sigma 1, then material is undergoing cyclic hardening. If sigma 1 equal to sigma 3 here, then the meaning is material cyclically stable. There is no hardening, no softening phenomena under the cyclic load. And we expect here cyclically stable because of the preliminary definition of these properties K dash and N dash, where K dash N dash refers to the CSSC curve properties, cyclic stress strain curve properties. Correct now? And when cyclic stress strain curve is obtained, cyclic stress strain curve is obtained for stabilized hysteresis loop only. So looking into the problem definition, we have straightforward, well-established understanding. The problem should give us cyclically stable stress value sigma 1, sigma 2, then sigma 3. Even if you calculate, it would be same as that of sigma 1. That is the general understanding. By looking into the properties itself, we can make out. However, to clarify that, we can solve and we can see. Okay, so this is what is about the numerical. Now we will just look into the solution. Solving is not an issue. The understanding how you interpret it, that is very important in the fatigue. It is not like MD1 question is given, use a procedure, solve and get the answer. Answer you will get. That is a basic requirement here to solve a problem. But more than that, I want in you to see how you are going to interpret it. Okay. So there are many cases. You might get different answer. There is no guarantee that every person has to get the same answer. It depending on what he assumes and why. So the reason must be logically and scientifically justified. Not only logic or not only science. Both is required for an engineer. So what methodology you want to adopt for solving the problem, that is left to the designer. Okay. So let us go and look into how to solve the numerical. We have CSSC equation or Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. Okay. So we can make use of this equation, well established equation. Total strain is equal to elastic part plus the plastic part strain. So Ramberg-Osgood equation is what? Epsilon 1 is equal to sigma 1 by E plus sigma 1 by K and 1 by N. K and N values are not given to us. Suppose you were aware about K and N values. K and N value means what? Monotonic stress strain diagram values. Monotonic curve values. Monotonic curve values. If I have the plot of plastic strain versus the stress, we have the relationship. Then slope of this curve is N. The coefficient, strength coefficient, that is what is K. What value you get here, this coordinate, that is what is your K, strength coefficient K. If you plot the same curve for CSSC curve, cyclic stress strain curve, then instead of N and K, we say that it is N dash and K dash. So here you can see cyclic stress strain curve, N dash, K dash, since the values are given. Now, one more point I want to highlight here. Suppose in the problem definition, all four values are given. N dash is given maybe as a 0.18, sorry, N is given. K is also given, let us say some monotonic case. I may give 184 KSI, then N dash and is equal to what is given 0.202, K dash what is given as 174.6 KSI. Now if all four values would have been given, then again interpretation comes. Okay. For the first cycle, when you pull from 0 to maximum, you are pulling for the first time. Then material is undergoing the static loading, first case, monotonic case. Then people can say, I want to use the Ramberg-Osgood equation itself, epsilon 1. So this point is epsilon 1, corresponding stress at this particular point is sigma 1. Similarly, this is epsilon 2, sigma 2. At this point, epsilon 3, sigma 3. So like this, we can go on epsilon 4, sigma 4. So how many number of cycles? At the end of every cycle, at the extremes of every cycle, what is the stress? This is what we want to determine. So if we know the monotonic property in this particular case, if that would have been given, to calculate epsilon 1, we could have used Ramberg-Osgood equation itself. And how you can justify that? Saying for the first cycle, the material is in the monotonic behavior. Cycle is not over, you have just started. Same way, how you go to the storm lab, take the specimen, started to pull to a defined range. Till then, for the first cycle, previously no load history, it behaves as your same monotonic stress strain curve. Then comes the hysteresis loop parameter. So here you can see from 0, pull it to the extreme. Okay, and then take it down till you reach a strain value of minus 0.02. Then again release from there, come to 0, and if you want for the next cycle to reach from this particular point A to 0.3, for example, next cycle, again start to increase till you reach the strain of 0.02. If you have used the monotonic properties, then you would have got the hysteresis loop like this here, initial, and then when you take it down, when you take it down, it will go in this particular path, and then if you apply n dash and k dash, because then it is a cyclic, we have to apply n dash k dash, then depending on whether material cyclically softening or hardening, depending on that you will get value. You will not reach to this particular point, you could have ended up here cyclic hardening, or you could have ended up here little bit below cyclic softening. This is the understanding you should have which property to use where. Here monotonic is not given, let us not worry. Okay, straightforward, we can start with the values. Okay, 1 minute. I'm getting a call. Okay. Yeah. Let us erase this writing. Anybody has any confusion till now what I have explained? Or you have followed all the things? Let me erase this, then we'll look into the solution. Okay. So monotonic stress strain properties or Ramberg-Osgood equation we are not using here. In this problem it is not given the data, therefore we are not using. However, you could have used that if you have that particular value. Okay. Now use the Ramberg-Osgood type of equation or CSSE curve equation. We have CSSE curve equation. Let us start the problem like that. We have CSSE curve equation, cyclic stress strain curve equation. Epsilon total strain is nothing but the elastic part of strain and the plastic part of strain given by this. Substitute the value, you have all the values given in the problem. No? Young's modulus is given, cyclic strain hardening exponent and cyclic strength is given. Just to substitute the given value. Okay, this is Young's modulus E value given, K value given, K dash or K given, N dash given value. So all the given values you substitute, and strain amplitude is 0.02. Strain amplitude, that means you have pulled from 0 to 0.02 strain rate here, epsilon 1. Epsilon 1. When you pull to this, what is the stress? This is what we want to determine. Sigma 1 is how much? Solve this equation. Solve this equation from your calculator. You can use that program and you can solve. Please solve this. Solve for sigma 1. How much is sigma 1? Can someone give me the answer? How much is sigma 1? Just solve the equation.
77.05, sir.
How much?
77.05 KSI.
77.05 KSI. Very good. Okay. 77.05 KSI. This is the corresponding sigma 1. So if you are here, it is not asked. Here this hysteresis loop is just shown. Okay. Here it is shown for your reference. If it is asked, you can draw in this stage. Later we have to draw after solving, because it is been asked to us to identify the stress strain behavior. How we can represent stress strain behavior when you apply this cyclic strain and cyclic strain amplitude over the material. That we can represent with the diagram. So at the end you can draw this diagram. At present, how much we are aware in the hysteresis loop is from zero, when you have pulled for a 0.02, what is the sigma 1 value? That is what you have given me, 77.05 77.05 KSI. Okay, already written here 77.1 or 75.05, how much you get. That is the stress value. Okay, so we have now materially shown me cyclic response of like this, material deformed like this. Now we have to go back. We have to go back. Release the load from epsilon 1 till you reach to a epsilon minimum or epsilon 2 here, I will say minus 0.02. Apply the compression till you get the minus 0.02 epsilon 2. When you reach to epsilon 2, how much is the sigma 2? What is the stress? How much is this particular value? How much is this particular value? Now can I use the same equation again? We cannot use the same equation again, please remember. Okay, because we are not applying from 0 to there. We have to go to the hysteresis curve where we can talk about the range, because from where I have compressed, I was pulling the specimen. I stopped at 0.02 and now we have started to compress. So 0.02, I am traveling for minus 0.02. So I am going for a range of 0.04 now. To get the sigma 2, we are traveling from sigma epsilon 1 to the epsilon 2. We are not starting it from 0 and compressing in that particular direction. As we know, if you have pulled the material to some maximum and then if you release back, it will not follow the same path. It will not follow the same path in the plastic region. It will go like this. Correct? There is some plastic strain. There is some elastic strain. Okay. It is not taking the same path. We want to capture this particular path, and that we can obtain by the hysteresis equation. So we have hysteresis equation. Delta epsilon by 2 is equal to delta sigma by 2E plus delta sigma by 2K whole to the power 1 by N. Now here cyclic properties have been given, so we'll write this as K dash and N dash. Cyclic property. We have to use the cyclic property here because it is now cyclic load we are continuing. Monotonic is done. Initial cycle only for the first cycle you can take the monotonic property if it was given. Here it is not given. Therefore, we are not supposed to take it. Let us not complicate the thing. But even if you are aware you can take, then you can justify. It is not wrong. You can definitely take monotonic property to calculate sigma 1 in any case if you have that. Okay. This equation we will make use of. And we are going to determine what is delta sigma. So determining is same. We know delta epsilon by 2 is now 0.02. Delta epsilon is 0.04. By 2 is 0.02. Or you can take this to other side. Then I can simplify this particular equation. I'll write here in the left side. We can simplify that equation. Delta epsilon is equal to delta sigma by E plus 2 into delta sigma by 2K dash to the power 1 by N dash. If I take the denominator other side, whichever way you want to do, you can do it. In this case, here delta epsilon is 0.04, the range. We have to determine now what is delta sigma. What is delta sigma? Do not use the same Ramberg-Osgood type of equation and calculate epsilon 2 is equal to sigma 2 by E plus sigma 2 by K dash and 1 by N dash. This equation is not possible to use. We want to capture that elastic plastic behavior and hysteresis curve path. The material follows the hysteresis curve path. It is not following the same path, CSSC curve path. If you use this equation for the second term, you are telling that material is following this particular path like this in the compression direction. what I'm drawing here. This path is not followed by the material here. So that we have to remember. Okay, therefore, using this equation is not permitted to get the epsilon 2. Okay. So sigma 1 we have got. We'll use the hysteresis loop equation. Solve for delta sigma. Unknown is delta sigma. Solve for delta sigma, we have 154.2 KSI. That is nothing but the stress range. It is now stress range. Stress range. So hysteresis loop, half of the hysteresis loop. We have started from 0. Material followed this particular path. Stress strain response, material give this axis is stress, sigma axis. This axis is epsilon axis. Material followed the stress strain behavior. The relationship between stress and strain is this. Physically, that you have to understand. It is not a curve simply. The relationship between stress and strain followed this particular law, this particular path. Okay. Then here you have obtained corresponding sigma 1 and you have here epsilon 1, 0.02. Now you are unloading from there till you achieve a strain of minus 0.02. You want to determine what is the corresponding stress here, sigma 2 here. How much is this? We cannot directly use the Ramberg-Osgood type of equation or CSSE equation or monotonic equation. If I use that, then I say material is following this path. That is not the actual stress strain response. Actual stress strain response is this hysteresis curve path. Okay. So we have to use this path equation. So this path equation is delta epsilon is equal to delta sigma by E plus 2 into delta sigma by K 2K. Oh, here I cannot write that 1 by N dash. I think you can understand. Okay. Now what we obtained is the stress range delta sigma, this much, delta sigma. Okay. So from delta sigma, if I want to determine this sigma 2, what we have to do? Delta sigma is nothing but what? Sigma max minus sigma minimum by 2. Range. Delta sigma max minus sigma minimum. Stress amplitude, if I want, it is by 2. So how we have delta epsilon is epsilon max minus epsilon minimum by, this is the range. If I want amplitude, it is by 2. Delta epsilon by 2. Same way here. Delta sigma is nothing but sigma max minus sigma minimum, or I can say sigma 1 minus sigma 2. Because max strain is epsilon 1, minimum strain is epsilon 2. So from this, I can determine what is sigma 2. So 154.2 minus 77.1 minus 154.2. I have to interchange this equation. I'll take sigma to this side, bring delta sigma here. So we get a value of minus 77.1. Now this value is minus 77.1. That is the value sigma 2. Now sigma 2 we have achieved. So now how much cycle we have completed? We have applied a load up to here. Okay. If I write sigma epsilon and time, then this is 0.02. We have compressed it till we get the minus 0.02 strain. Now again I have to start back. I have completed this much. This much we have completed. Now I have to complete the remaining. Okay, this is full cycle. We will now check for what happens when I reach back from there to the another point, positive 0.02, sigma 3. So this path, the remaining path we have to calculate. And that will give us the idea whether the material is cyclically hardening or cyclically softening. Already I have said, since we have used the cyclic property at the beginning itself, monotonic, first step to calculate sigma 1 only, we have used k dash n dash. There is no question of cyclically hardening or cyclically softening because these are cyclic properties. Only if you have used to calculate sigma 1, k and n monotonic property, then if you have used cyclic properties, you will understand whether material is cyclically hardening or cyclically softening. So now we want to determine what is this remaining portion of the hysteresis loop, this portion. This path we want to determine. So when I'll take back from this compressed position till the next epsilon 3, this is what we want to determine. Use again the hysteresis equation. This is again hysteresis equation. All parameters remain same in this case. So we will use that and we can determine epsilon 3 and finally we have that particular diagram. Okay. So from 0 to a strain level of 0.02. From there we have applied compression to the minus 0.02. From there we have again applied till I reach the positive 0.02. So this is the curve. What is the coordinate here? For the first curve we have here sigma 1 epsilon 1. We also have the same point as sigma 3 epsilon 3. Here we have sigma 2 epsilon 2 as a coordinate. So if you come back from there, this is epsilon 1, epsilon 2, go to epsilon 3, come back again to compress epsilon 4, take it up again for epsilon 5. Okay, so like this, bring it down for epsilon 6. Again, number of cycles. You are repeating the number of cycles ultimately. Since your material is not undergoing cyclic hardening or cyclic softening, every time you take it from some given value to the next value, that is 0 to 0.02 positive to minus 0.02, then minus 0.02, that means compression to tension, tension to compression. When you are doing this alternatively, what this indicates is the material performance is following this particular hysteresis loop. Every time material is in this particular path. This is the stress strain response of the material. So you can draw this diagram at the end once you solve. So this is the stress strain response every time. The only thing you are going to get, material only loops in this path. This is only for the first time. This is only first time when you pull from 0 to that particular value. After that, material is not showing you that type of stress strain response. Material is not showing you that type of stress strain response because there is plastic strain. Okay. So other notes and etc. is given here. A note is given. You can read this. The actual algebraic sign of the changes in stress, that is plus or minus, and strain must be accounted for by considering the sign of the change in the applied strain. Actual means what? We have to tell whether it is tension or compression, tension or compression, that we have to state. Okay. So other point is already mentioned here. The stress and strain values corresponding to 0.3. You know now what is 0.3. This is the 0.3, 0.4. Okay, 0.3 can be determined by using again same equation. So what I have already explained all these things, you can go through. This is what we have discussed till now. We have, in theory, we have used Ramberg-Osgood equation. Epsilon is sigma by E plus sigma by K to the power 1 by N. We have, this is strain amplitude. Okay. Strain amplitude CSSC equation sigma by E plus sigma by K dash to the power 1 by N. Ramberg-Osgood type of equation. And then we have the hysteresis equation. I can write either delta epsilon by 2 or delta epsilon. In that case, I'll just rearrange here. Let us write delta epsilon by 2. Easy. There is no confusion at all. Okay. So delta sigma by 2k to the power 1 by n, or n dash, k dash, n dash. In the absence of monotonic property, we assume cyclic property there. In the absence of cyclic property, we can assume the monotonic properties. That is the assumption. In reality, the k dash, n dash values are different from k and n values. If the material shows different cyclic behavior than monotonic. Okay. So this is all about this particular problem. Let us take one more numerical. This numerical doesn't require the knowledge of this strain life approach. This is basic strength of material problem. Okay. Therefore, I don't think much I have to explain here. Why this problem is only taken is just to recall about the tensile test, what you have done, what are the various parameters you can obtain. Okay, basic, very basic strength of material question. Important only thing is how to determine strain hardening exponent n. See here, n dash is not mentioned because these are the monotonic curve property what is given. Static test, what you do in your strength of material lab. Therefore, n dash is not mentioned. Strength coefficient k, not k dash. Okay. From monotonic curve, SOM-lab static test, what you have done earlier, you can get n and k. So what is that relation? How you can get n and k? That to show that this problem is given. All other thing you have already well aware of. Okay. So what is given now? Start of a test. Start of a test. Here load versus deflection. If I write load versus deflection, delta L, this diagram, let us start from 0. Free specimen. You have now mounted over the UTM, Universal Testing Machine. Start to load it from 0. Load it from 0. And it is observed that 0.02. 0.02 is the elastic point. Then increase your loading further. You are going to find 0.33. 0.33 is the load. Okay. Load. Then load increased to some extent, 0.37, and load suddenly dropped. Load suddenly dropped to 0.33 again and stabilized there for some time and then went up. Ultimate strength load of 0.53 and then fracturing lesser than the yield. You have achieved a stress value lesser than the yield point. You can see fractured at somewhere 0.3. This load versus deflection curve is given. What is mentioned in the table is nothing but the load versus deflection properties. You can see. Instead of stress strain curve, load versus deflection. Now we have to determine what are the corresponding stress. So this 0.03 elastic point is nothing but you can consider as a yield point or you can consider as an elastic point. So stress at here sigma E, I can write it as what? Load, elastic load at the elastic limit divided by the area at that particular time. Instantaneous if I want true. Deflection is very small. We write original cross-sectional area A0. Engineering stress strain curve if I am drawing original cross-sectional area. Okay. Then all other things you know. So what is the question now? To determine modulus of elasticity E, upper yield point, lower yield point, offset 0.2% offset yield strength. We have to draw the graph for this. If I want to determine 0.02% offset yield strength, graph you have to draw to the scale for this curve. Then take 0.2% of the strain here If you draw stress versus strain diagram, 0.2% strain, not deflection. You take that, draw the line, you know how to obtain the proof stress. 0.2% offset yield strength means proof stress from the strength of material. Okay. So then ultimate strength, engineering, true and true strain, engineering and true stress, percentage reduction in area, the measure of ductility or the malleability, true fracture ductility. So all these are well-known points. Let us just look into, I will not explain much, strength of material basic. What is required from the fatigue point of view, only that will highlight. So you can calculate Young's modulus, sigma by epsilon, Hooke's law. Okay. So if you use sigma by epsilon, first you have to calculate then sigma epsilon E. So you have to use load, elastic load divided by the area, original area. And what is strain? Change in length by original length. So if you have stress by strain, this equation PL by A delta L. Rearranging of the equation. That is, it is done. Instead of calculating separately and then substituting, directly it has been substituted. Similarly, now upper yield point, you have to look for the maximum yield point. You see, upper yield point is this. Sudden drop in load is observed from here. 0.37 point is the cutoff point. Okay. So 0.37 is the maximum out of these three. That is your upper yield point calculation coordinate. Okay. So use that particular load, determine upper yield point stress. Use lower yield point load and use the lower yield point stress. Then to determine the proof stress, as I said, we have to plot the graph.
Excuse me, sir. Could you go back 1 second?
Yeah. What is the doubt you have? You have any doubt here?
1 second, just seeing. Sir, just seeing 1 second. Sir, just looking at it.
This is strength of material. What to look? You practice and see.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Strength of material, you know, no basics. Okay, fine. Then plot the graph, stress versus strain, engineering stress strain graph, engineering stress strain graph. Plot the graph, you know 0.2% strain you have to take that, mark and obtain the proof stress. I will not explain all that much. You can refer to your strength of material. So from the graph, we obtain proof strain, 0.2% is this much. Proof load also we can take, and from there we can calculate proof stress, or straightforward stress versus strain only we can draw. Directly we will get the proof stress. Ultimate strength, ultimate load by the area. Engineering strain at necking, change in length, the maximum change in length, where necking occurs. Read the graph, this given table or the graph. Necking occurs at the ultimate load position. From here, true stress strain curve goes like this, engineering stress strain goes like this, because true stress strain curve is sigma by the load by instantaneous cross sectional area, where engineering stress strain is load by the original cross sectional area. Okay. So determine engineering strain at necking, true strain at necking. This equation at the beginning I have shown. I have given you homework also to obtain this particular expression. It is a very basic from the strength of material. The same derivation is also there in the Bannatyne-Julie book. You can refer either way, either the Bannatyne-Julie book or the any basic engineering mechanics or mechanics of material book to obtain the relationship between engineering strain and the true strain. Use the equation, determine the true strain at necking. Now, important is obtaining cyclic hardening exponent. Cyclic actually we cannot get, okay. This is monotonic property rather than K dash. I would like to recommend to use K, not K dash. Okay, some just notation mistake. It is not cyclic because we are not determining from CSSE curve. We are now determining from monotonic. So it is the strain hardening exponent, not cyclic. Strain hardening exponent. we have the plastic strain and stress relationship. Sigma is proportional to plastic strain in this way. Okay. So use this particular equation and determine what is the strain hardening exponent. In this case, any problem is there, please let me know if you have any doubt, because this is what we require in fatigue. This may be new to you. You have not used this particular equation and solved. Okay, you can observe one more thing. I think you are not following maybe few. Stress strain curve if I draw, this is the yield point, lower yield point, lower yield point, upper yield point, and the ultimate strength point. Okay, ultimate strength point. Sigma y upper, sigma y lower. The plasticity is there in this region. As an engineering domain, as an engineering designer, we want to look for the plasticity in this domain. We don't want to explore plasticity in this domain unless and until your aim is making sheets, thin sheets. For a structural components, plasticity must be lying lesser than ultimate strength and within the yield strength limit. Therefore, we want to determine how stress is related to the plastic strain. What is the relationship? What is that exponential power here? Because we know stress is related to the plastic strain exponentially. Okay. Here, straightforward, you cannot determine n. I want to take the slope of this plasticity curve. We want to draw this particular curve, plastic strain and the corresponding stress. This curve slope is n. Therefore, here you can observe it is compared. Two equations have been compared. Lower yield point equation. Lower yield point equation. Sigma y. That particular stress is 0.33 divided by the strain at that particular value, 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 into the power n is equal to 0.53 divided by 0.123 to the power n. Okay. So if the hardening follows this particular strain hardening exponent follows this particular law, then you use this or this. We expect you to obtain the same answer for the n. This is what you have to remember from here or understand from here, from this concept. Then percentage reduction in area. Next point, it is again basic of the strength of material. True fracture ductility, well established relation, strength of material. True fracture strength. Only thing is you have to take the area, instantaneous area or final area. Coefficient, strength coefficient K. Strength coefficient K we can determine from the equation. K, we have this relation already I have written here. K, this sigma is proportional to epsilon p to the power n. That proportionality constant is K. So to determine K, we can do sigma by plastic strain to the power n. Same way to determine epsilon E, Young's modulus, we have done sigma by E. That is within the elastic limit. Now here we are talking in the plastic region. So do use this equation, determine the K. This is all about this particular problem. It's quite simple, the basic postulate. Okay. Fine. If any doubts are there, let me know in these two problems. If not, I'll take you to the next topic. Okay. So let us recall the Baskin equation which we had. Baskin equation, whether you consider 2-slope model or 3-slope model, left to you. Baskin equation, we had SF is equal to A into n to the power P. Just for recalling purpose. Then analogous to this particular relation, Coffin and Manson, very important. Coffin and Manson. This Manson is the same person about whom we are studying since several classes. We have seen Manson's double linear damage rule. We have talked about Manson in the previous discussion also, who gave us the relationship between the sigma is equal to K into plastic strain to the power N. This relationship between plastic strain in the total strain equation, Ramberg-Osgood equation, we have elastic plus the plastic strain part. So the plastic strain part relationship we obtained from Manson, and even in previous class we have seen from the Manson's experiment, several experiments, if N value is certain parameter, we say material was cyclically undergoing hardening or material was cyclically undergoing softening. So that is all from the Manson, or it is the same person. So Coffin and Manson together worked to provide a strain life equation. Till now we have not discussed, I have not introduced, sorry. Till now I have not introduced you to the strain life equation. Till now in this strain life approach chapter, we were discussing how the material will respond, what is the material behavior, what and all way a material can behave when you apply the cyclic load. Now we are looking for the fatigue life term in strain life approach. And the fatigue life equation is given by Coffin-Manson. The relationship is similar to the power law which we use in the high cycle fatigue Baskin equation. And that power law is here for the plastic strain. So this is the plastic component. By using this Ramberg-Osgood equations, CSS equations, from this strain life equation has been derived or obtained. Okay. So similar to the Baskin equation, in the plastic region, Coffin and Manson shown that we can relate the plastic strain amplitude to the life. Elastic strain amplitude to the life is straightforward. Baskin equation itself. We have total strain amplitude epsilon A, which is having elastic strain amplitude plus the plastic strain amplitude. Now our question is, when we apply this particular plastic strain, strain amplitude, which is consisting elastic and plastic part, the elastic part of the strain is used to give you the elastic stress. So relationship between stress and strain is with the Young's modulus, and the plastic part is to give you the corresponding plastic stress. The plastic strain is to give the corresponding plastic stress, which is getting relaxed when the material is undergoing deformation. So plastic part of the strain is responsible for the stress relaxation. So sigma by K to the power 1 by N, Manson's relationship for the plastic strain. Now this plastic part, how it is related to the life, how we can relate this much to, how we can change this to NF from this part, how we can get life, number of cycles to failure. And this relation is also given by Coffin and Manson, similar to that of corresponding Baskin equation. Similar to that of Baskin equation, luckily Coffin and Manson have determined this epsilon P plastic strain amplitude can be related similarly how we related the Baskin equation, elastic strain equation. In Baskin equation we have written SA or SNF, the stress life to stress magnitude to failure is equal to A NF to the power B. What is this A? Is a true fracture strength, or I can write sigma F dash into NF to the slope of that particular curve. SN diagram slope is nothing but the B in the Baskin equation. This is Baskin equation. So we have now two diagrams. One is SN diagram, stress life diagram. Same way we have the strain life diagram. Strain life diagram. Slope of this curve was B. Then just to differentiate, we will write slope of this curve is C. That is what is written here. Slope of this curve is C. Just to differentiate, we can write B there also, but you by multiple notation, different meaning, confusing. Just use one more notation, C. And what is epsilon? In the place of sigma F dash, true fracture stress. In a strain life equation, we are using true fracture strain or fatigue ductility coefficient. True fracture strain or fatigue ductility coefficient. Okay. So we will replace the corresponding relation here for the plastic part. Total strain amplitude is now sigma F dash, Baskin equation for the elastic part. When the strain is in the elastic region, it is nothing but the high cycle approach. Plastic part effect is negligible. So epsilon F dash, NF to the power B, elastic part, okay, from here. And for the plastic part, it is true fracture strain into 2NF to the power C. 2 in the sense, if I use half cycle, then here also I can use 2. This I already explained to you earlier in high cycle fatigue. When if we use 2, it is means that that many number of reversals, or only NF, that many number of cycles. Okay. So this is what is now strain life equation. Strain life equation. Now you see the complexity of the equation. Earlier you had only one part, elastic part. Now your equation is little bit more complex. Okay. So if you want to use strain life approach, you are supposed to know true fracture stress and SN diagram slope curve property. That is only not sufficient. We also need to have true fracture strain and the slope of the strain life curve. Slope of the strain. Now you see the amount of data you require than high cycle fatigue. That is why people are reluctant to use the strain life approach. Though strain life approach can give you better approximation of the solution, the data required is more, the effort required is more. You cannot solve this so easily. Okay. If you have this data, well and good, we can use even in the high cycle fatigue regime. Low cycle fatigue regime, it is a moreover plastic phenomena. The influence of this plastic part is more in the life. So life what you get here because of the elastic part very less. When you solve this equation, the elastic part life you obtain maybe 100 only, 100 cycles. But because of the plastic you gave the other remaining life. So plastic part dominance is more in the low cycle fatigue region. Therefore, high cycle fatigue anyways not applicable, not possible to apply, or even if you apply, you get erroneous result. The result is not believable. Okay. So this is what is strain life approach or Coffin-Manson equation approach. Strain life diagram is shown here. SN diagram, how we have same way. Strain life diagram. Now this is a stress life diagram. SN diagram itself. Sorry, here you can see sigma A stress amplitude. SN diagram plotted for reversals 2NF. Till now in high cycle fatigue life we have drawn only SN diagram, sigma and sigma A and life N. We have used in this particular fashion, and slope of this curve is B. Where it intersects, that stress value is the true fracture strength sigma F dash. This is SN diagram. So B, this is all you know, what is B and all other parameters. This is for a given particular equation, for a given material, these values, not a universal values, just to represent from the curve. Similarly, we have now strain life diagram. How we had stress life diagram, now we have strain life diagram. This is a strain life diagram. Drawn for reversals. You can see reversals, 2NF. Earlier we used to write full cycles. Strain life diagram can be plotted for life. It is not a requirement that you have to draw for reversals. Why usually we find in case of strain life diagram, it is plotted for reversals? Because as you know now, because of the knowledge of your previous problem which you have solved, when you pull for a particular load and then release from there, material do not follow the same path, previous path. We have the hysteresis path. Okay. So with every reversal, in case of strain life, every reversal, the material behavior could be different. Therefore, we go by reversal by reversal. In SN approach, stress life approach, such possibility was not accounted in that mathematical equation. Therefore, you consider reversals or you consider full life, it is okay. But in case of fatigue life, reversal by reversal, the behavior might be different in case of strain life approach. Therefore, most often you find strain life curves are plotted for a reversals. But it is not a mandate. We can have the strain life approach, say a strain life curve diagram, same way as you had the SN diagram. It is a log-log plot. SN diagram is also log-log plot or the semi-log plot. Same way, strain life approach is also either you can plot with log-log or you can plot as a semi-log plot. Okay. So Ramberg-Osgood equation, this is nothing but epsilon A is elastic strain plus the plastic strain amplitudes. Okay, elastic strain amplitude, plastic strain amplitude. Strain amplitude means what? Range by 2. That is why here it is expressed now in the form of range. Plastic range by 2, elastic range by 2, and total range by 2. Okay. So by using all these relationship, we can rearrange the Baskin equations here to obtain the life equation. Okay, so this is what is the Coffin-Manson strain life equation. You need not always mention Coffin-Manson. They are the person who gave the equation. This itself is the strain life equation. Strain life equation. Okay. So here onwards, when you are asked in the strain life approach, anywhere, if it is asked to use the strain life approach and determine the life, this is the equation you are supposed to use. In case of Baskin equation, high cycle fatigue, this is the equation. SNF is sigma f dash to the power nf to the power b. Okay. Here, only this part is incorporated into this value. It is expressed in the strain form. Okay, strain is proportional to stress. So strain is put here. Strain life approach here, we need to have strain amplitude. Elastic strain amplitude. So this is elastic strain amplitude part. Okay, that has been rearranged. Therefore, Young's modulus, because you know, as per Hooke's law, sigma is proportional to strain. Simple relationship. So that has been used here. Okay, so elastic part of the life and the plastic part of the portion which can give you the life. So this is the equation. Okay, fine. So other discussions we can have in the next class. We will prepare for the quiz. Let us answer the quiz and then you can leave. Okay. Anybody is having any doubt in the today's class? Please raise your query. Just wait for 2 minutes. Then I will share the link for the quiz. Okay, I have posted the link to answer the quiz. Please look into. Please confirm whether it is accepting response. Anyone?
Yes, sir, it's open.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You can take some 3-4 minutes and you can submit. No need to stay here. Those who are, though anybody is having doubt, you can ask. If not, you may leave the class. You can submit the quiz. You can leave. If there are no other queries, I will end the meeting here. Thank you all for joining for today's class. Have a nice day.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Harish.
It's open till 10 p.m. or what is the time?
No,
10
I'll
a.m.
give some 3 to 4 minutes. Enough, no?
Yes.
Yeah. Sufficient time. You want 1 minute more extra, you take 5 minutes. No problem.
No, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Total time, from the time I have posted, I'll give you 5 minutes. I have posted the link here at 9:57. By 10 to you submit.